Hello and welcome to another episode of Talking Politics on the Hindu's YouTube channel. I'm Nistula Hebbar, the political editor of the paper and your guide through this particular show where we look at the details behind the stories hitting the headlines in domestic politics. I'm recording this show on a Saturday, customarily a day later than I usually do, which is usually on a Friday, because Saturday was result day for the Maharashtra and Jharkhand assembly poll and several by-polls spread across the country. We are doing this show not just on the results as such, because by the time this video hits you, all of that will be done to death, but we will be looking at the election results not just as something that decides who is going to be forming the next government in these states, but the questions that these results have settled in the political discourse, at least for the foreseeable future. This episode of Talking Politics will be about what are the ideas and narratives that found resonance with the people, and a guide to political parties on what works and what does not. The first thing that we do take up with regard to the results of the Maharashtra and Jharkhand assembly polls is the fact that both incumbent governments had announced income support schemes targeted at women. The Mukhyamantri Ladki Bahin Yojana in Maharashtra and the Mukhyamantri Maiya Samman Yojana of Jharkhand are set to be the game changers in these elections. In Maharashtra, polling among women was up by at least 6% from 2019, with polling settling at 65.1% for women in 2024 compared to 59.2% in 2019. In Jharkhand too, women outvoted men across 32 constituencies, and overall too, more women voted than men in the state, as the state has a total of 2.61 crore registered voters. 1.76 crore people voted, out of which 91.16 lakh voters were women. So this exceeded the male participation by 5.52 lakh votes. Very clearly then, as in the past, women and welfare measures targeted at them can help accumulate a support base above caste and other traditional categories, and give you a very loyal support base, in fact, to attempt to form governments again and again. This should be a lesson to political parties to include more women-centric policies. And now that we have the Women's Reservation Bill Act, which allows for 33% reservations for women in parliament, in the parliament and assemblies across the country, looking forward to the delimitation exercise and hoping that at least in the 2029 election or after, we will see a larger participation of women with this growing sort of understanding in political parties that women as a support base are enthusiastic, dependable, and with 50% of the population highly prized. The second question that this kind of this election result kind of looks at is the whole question of the caste census. Now, BJP's victory in Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh and Rajasthan in 2023 during the assembly elections in those states was said to have closed the gate to the caste census as an issue. But in the Lok Sabha polls of 2024, with the Samvidhan Khatre Mein Hai, the constitution is in danger narrative among marginalized sections, the issue gained traction again. Vast swaths of Maharashtra and Uttar Pradesh saw marginalized sections vote for the India bloc, and anxieties were expressed over BJP ending reservations if it got a huge majority at the center. Now, this issue was expected to hit the assembly elections as well, along with the Maratha agitation. But that seems to have ebbed, and there doesn't seem to have been any reflection in the results of this issue. Now, what does this demonstrate? That the BJP, after missteps in the general election, has leveraged the OBC leadership it has cultivated and gained from the 1990s onwards, from its social engineering days. If you recall, when people like Uma Bharti and Kalyan Singh, Gopinath Munde, etc. had joined the party and become a big force within the BJP, and the gains it has made via the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, his appeal and civil society penetration of the RSS among the scheduled castes. Historically, BJP has been a party of the OBCs in Maharashtra since 1980, in fact, and that was regained in these polls despite the Maratha agitation, etc. Now, the lesson for the Congress, therefore, which has constantly, for the last few years at least under Rahul Gandhi, been talking about a caste census, is that it needs to first cultivate credible OBC leadership within its cadre, within its leadership cohort group, to grab that support base. Otherwise, without that, it'll only end up making its allies like RJD and the Samajwadi Party insecure, without actually delivering anything or without actually getting anything for espousing this cause. Without that, so the demand for the caste census from the Congress, without a credible caste leadership from the OBC communities, will be played out by the BJP in the narrative terms as a ploy to fragment Hindu society and nothing else. It's an explanation perhaps about why batenge to katenge, divided we perish, and ek hai to safe hai slogan of Prime Minister Modi, together we are safe, worked in, at least in Maharashtra, in these elections. Now, the third sort of big thing that was talked about in these elections in really large terms is that, is ideology important? Is only welfare important? So many parties broke up. There was opportunistic toing and froing by several parties in Maharashtra, and it created a fragmented landscape with welfare measures and local loyalties which were expected to help political parties win and overcome being seen as an erosion of ideology. Well, with Shiv Sena Eknath Shinde trumping Shiv Sena UBT at the hustings, one aspect of the Hindutva vote, the legacy of Bala Saheb Thackeray, was decided. But what is even more significant, I feel, in the whole question of post-ideology versus ideology being important, is the contest in Vidarbha, as well as some other areas where the BJP and the Congress, the two parties that actually did not get divided in all of this toing and froing, these were two parties that remained steadfast, and they had a particular kind of ideology, and they said they're fighting elections on an ideology. Their people did not go anywhere, so they went head to head, and the Congress had bested the BJP in the Lok Sabha elections of 2024 in Vidarbha on the constitution is in danger plank. This erosion of support from SCs, STs and OBCs was a blow to the Hindutva project, and it was taken as such by the BJP. So, because the marginalized communities being within the BJP fold was seen as a subaltern Hindutva situation, it strengthened Hindutva as an electoral force as well as a political one, because if you remove the marginalized sections from the Hindutva base, what you're left with is an upper caste rump, which is very marginal to the electoral fortunes of any political party in the country. So, the BJP came up with a Batenge to Katenge slogan to overcome this fragmentation of the Hindutva vote, and worked hard to bring Dalit and scheduled tribe votes back, deploying union ministers Kiran Rijiju and Bhupender Yadav months in advance to do the wooing. So in these polls, among the 75 head-to-head BJP versus Congress fights, BJP won 64 and the Congress 9. This restored the subaltern character of Hindutva under Prime Minister Narendra Modi's BJP without freebies and giveaways, and was actually an ideological tussle that happened between the BJP and the Congress, basically turning on its head the idea that the Maharashtra polls were without ideology. So one can see that an electoral field is a mix of ideology, caste base, and welfare. So all three things are important, and these are national implications of these elections. These are streams of things that will resonate in the political discourse in the coming few months. We have the Delhi elections coming up. That will, of course, pick on this welfare issue in a very big way. After that, we have the Bihar elections, always very sensitive on the issue of caste, although caste census is not an issue in Bihar because it's already been done. And Hindutva, as always, because BJP is a dominant force in Indian politics at the moment, it will remain important. So this is how these three big issues panned out. And for the foreseeable future, some questions with regard to these has been settled. So I hope you enjoyed this particular episode. I have tried to avoid a lot of the micro issues that went into the results of these elections. And for this week, this is all I have for you. Thank you so much for watching.